I totally had a brain fart in a 30-team fantasy basketball industry mock draft. I had a brain fart. When I tell you, oh baby, you wouldn't believe how I dropped the ball in the first round. In this episode, we're going to break down the first 3 rounds of an industry NBA fantasy dynasty mock draft. We believe every NBA fan that plays fantasy football should also play fantasy basketball. So I get a DM from Adam King from Fantasy Basketball International. And when Adam hits me up, it's like, one of the daggone presidents of fantasy. One of the daggone, like the like if Oprah Winfrey hits your jack type situation. So I've been pretty busy lately, but when he told me that they were having a 30-team mock draft for Dynasty, I was on my Flavor Flav Public Enemy. I was like, yeah, boy. Like I was hyped. And then when I looked at the list of the players or the managers, the team managers who were in this mock draft, I was just like, yo, this is going to be super duper fun. So we'll talk more about that as we get into the episode. But before we start, I want to talk to you about Bet Online. Bet Online is your number one source for all your sports betting needs this season, from baseball, golf, soccer, right all the way to the top fights in UFC, MMA, and boxing. Every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads while the games are being played. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker, or unwind with one of our over 150 slot games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Use promo code BELIEVE for your 50% free bet credit on your first deposit up to $250. Bet Online, the game starts here. So for context, if you are listening or watching on YouTube, we are streaming in multiple platforms tonight. We are on X. We are on Instagram actually for the first time, and I'm looking at the Instagram image, and it's like I'm a little like far to the right or left. I'm like trying to get centered, but any way you look at it, I'm gonna just roll with the vibe. Any way you look at it, we're super grateful that you are here with us, and we want to make sure we provide you with tons of value. With that said, if you are a Dynasty fantasy basketball player, this episode is for you. Take some notes because some of these picks are not on par with maybe what consensus is doing if you're looking at some of the rankings on hashtag basketball or even on some of the rankings for some of the independent channels. It's pretty interesting to see what we have here. But before we do that, I want to make sure I talk about the team managers. It's kind of a thing in fantasy basketball where we have a pretty tight-knit community when you think about it. And we don't have, as many, creators as we have in other spaces. For example, in fantasy football, we have tons of people creating fantasy football content, where in fantasy basketball, it's a little more niched and a tighter community. So for me, anytime I get an opportunity to talk about that and highlight that, I want to take time to do it. So I just want to run through some of the managers that we have in this league. We have, and I'm going to be looking at my device just to make it a little easier. We have Eric Ong, who works for, or is the host of Fantasy Fast Break podcast. We have my man Raphael Johnson, my brother, former colleague of mine over at Roto World NBC Sports. We have Michael Waterloo, a.k.a. Pitch Mr. Perfect, who is a writer over at The Athletic. We have William is Bill, or a.k.a. the All Rookie Podcast, host and producer of the All Rookie Podcast. Also, you're just making rookie and draft content. Of course, my brother, my ace, my main man, Dan Titus from Yahoo. Yeah, boy. My brother, that's my ace. Also, one of the hosts of the Roto World Basketball Show. Then we have B-Dub from Fantasy Basketball International. We have Thunder Dan DFS from Roto Baller, Also, Writer of the Year for the Fantasy Sports Writers Association. Harley Scotland, host of Punting Losses. Rhett Bauer, NBA and fantasy analyst. Matt Dawson from Fantasy Basketball International. We have Dynasty Prospects, NBA Dynasty Prospects. NBA G-Wiz, another one of my homies from Insight Sports. Noah Rubin, my ace, my brother, my mellow, my man. Also from NBC Roto World, but also works with Fantasy Basketball International. NBA Fantasy Bible is in the building. Kayla Fonte is in the building. She is a journalism grad from TMU, but also the co-host of Between Two Hoops, a fantasy basketball writer. DBC Jason, Dynasty Fantasy Basketball, NBA Draft content. Day-to-Day Fantasy NBA. You can check them out at Day-to-Day Fantasy. Dizzle Dynasty Sports. Menace Podcast. Dynasty Hoops HQ. Alex Barutha, Chief NBA Editor at RotoWire. We got Keith Cork. Mike Barner, Fantasy Sports Betting Contributor at RotoWire. Also two-time Fantasy Sports Writers Association Basketball Writer of the Year finalist. Kyle McEwen, Fantasy Basketball Analyst at Basketball Monster. My man Mitch Casey, a friend of the show, host of the Ball Boys Fantasy Basketball Podcast, one of my favorite channels on YouTube. A. Burns Hoops, Fantasy Hoops Words from Roto Baller. Joel Bartolotta, Fantasy Sports Writer at RotoWire. Alex Reclean, Fantasy Sports Writer at RotoWire. David Williams, freelancer, former host of the Ethos Grizzlies podcast, and of course, Robin Marks from the Believe in Fantasy Basketball podcast. So I gotta give flowers to any and everyone who is a part of the fantasy basketball community. Special shout out to Dan Bespris, who is a friend of the show. Also, big shout out to Josh Lloyd, one of the most beloved figures in the fantasy basketball community. Now that we got that all out of the way, we're going to get into what you're here for. We're going to run through the first 3 rounds of an industry dynasty 30-team mock draft. Let's get into it. So, over here, I'm going to share my screen really quick. Now, I will say that the way my screen is set up, I don't really have the ability to show you the whole screen because this joint is so long, man. It's like, Jesus Christ. It's ridiculous how this screen looks. But I'm going to run through it with you verbally. But I wanted to make sure that you can kind of see behind the scenes if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening on the podcast, I'll definitely describe everything for you. So let's just go ahead and get into the action. Okay, with the first pick, NBA Dynasty chooses Victor Wembanyama. Second pick, SGA. Third pick, Luka Doncic. 4, Jokic. 5, Halliburton. 6, Edwards. Okay, that's interesting. 7, Tatum. 8, Holmgren. 9, Giannis. That might be a little early for me, but I ain't mad at that, Dan. Dan Titus grabs Giannis. 10, LaMelo Ball. And this is my botch. Like, listen, guys, I'm going to keep it a stack with y'all. Like, when I say that I botched this, I botched this. So, Adam King tells me about it. I'm just in my life, man. Like, I'm just lifing, moving through the motions. And how I messed up, the brain fart was I didn't turn on notifications for Fantrax, where this is being hosted, right? When I tell you, I probably have done 3 or 4 leagues on Fantrax. I'm not on Fantrax on a regular, although they have very valuable content. Besides hosting leagues, especially dynasty leagues, being great for dynasty leagues, it's a great source for just information and content. When I tell you, like, I had to reset my password, everything. So I go about my business. We communicate via DMs on Twitter, and Adam is hitting me up, and I'm like, I don't even see it. The whole group chat is like, yo, where's this Believe in Fantasy guy? my handle is @BelieveInFantasy. I'm like, I'm just living life. I don't know what's happening. And then I find out, yo, when I pulled up, it must have been the bottom of the first. So it's like 30 picks in, and they like, yo, we had to skip you. Like, there was no queue, nothing. I didn't get best available. I would have took best available at that point, maybe. But because it's Dynasty, it doesn't work like that. And the best player that was left over was Jalen Brunson. So I took Jalen Brunson. Man, I took Jalen Brunson with the 11th pick. I would have taken players like Scotty Barnes, Kay Cunningham, Devin Booker, Donovan Mitchell, maybe. Just I was sick to my stomach. So I started off on a bad foot, but I think I'm gonna be okay. So let's go ahead and finish up. We were just finishing up the 10th pick, which was LaMelo Ball. I grabbed Jalen Brunson. 12, Scotty Barnes. 13, Anthony Davis. 14, Donovan Mitchell. 15, Kay Cunningham. 16, Booker. 17, Sabonis. 18, Maxey. 19, Trae Young. 20, Şengün. I'm trying to move this along. 20, Şengün. 21, Banchero. 22, Jaren Jackson Jr. 23, Fox. I'm assuming this is a 9-cat draft. I didn't check to see if that's broken down anywhere. I'm pretty confident it's a 9-cat. 23, Fox. 24, Embiid. 25, Adebayo. 26, Mobley. 27, Bane. 28, Murray. 29, Williams. Jalen Williams. 30, Lauri Markkanen. Now, top of the second. First pick in the second round, Jalen Johnson from Atlanta. Morant, Towns, Garland, Durant, Williamson, Porzingis. Jaylen Brown goes with the 8th pick in the second round. Wagner, Franz, that is. Amin Thompson, Harden, Simons at 12, Jamal Murray, Steph Curry at 14. Seems a little early for Curry, but I'm not mad at that. 15, Irving. 16, Miller. 17, Quickly. 18, Lillard. Scoot Henderson at 19? Oh, baby. I don't know about that one. Who was that? That was Ops watching. I don't know about that one. I don't know about that one. I'm just saying. Scoot, I'm scared of Scoot, man. Scoot might get the boot. I grabbed Jalen Duren at 20. I was very happy with that. I was looking at hashtags basketball's rankings and just thinking about, like, the way I was going to build a team, and I was okay with that. I felt like that was a big win for me. Let me know what you guys think. I think that was a come up. I'm just saying. After Duren, we have Vassell at 21, Paul George at 22, Keegan Murray at 23, 24, Van Vliet, Turner at 25, Miles, that is, Siakam at 26, Leonard at 27. Hey, listen, I haven't done a proper Kawhi Leonard rant in months. I am out on Kawhi Leonard. For Dynasty, for redraft, for C draft, me draft, I'm just out. I just can't. I can't anymore. I can't. Asar Thompson goes with the 28th pick. Then we have Jabari Smith Jr., Josh Giddey from the ashes, rising like a phoenix from the ashes at number 30. Oh, baby. I am not mad at that, though. I'm not mad at that. Now we're going to finish up the third round. Top of the third, we have Isaiah Hartenstein, Cam Whitmore, Tariq Eason at the third pick in the third round. Then we have Keontae George, Kessler, Jalen Green, Rudy Gobert, Onyeka Okongwu. I love that pick. I love that pick. Jimmy Butler. I do not love that pick. I love you, Dan Titus. I do not like this pick. Jimmy Butler might need a pick for the perm. I'm just saying. Alex Sarr goes to Roto Kyle. Not mad at that. And then I was up. And I did something that's against my religion. I drafted Tyler Hero. That was a dumpster juice move. I mean, I was looking at it. I was looking at the rankings. I was like, man, he's there. I already got a big. I already got a point guard. He's, hot dog water. Front row of the Insane Clown Posse concert bad. Like, I'm just saying, that was a bad move, Robin Marks. You could do better. You could do better. Next up is Jalen Suggs, Randall, Bridges, Williams, Zach LaVine, LeBron James, Shepard, Anunoby, Kuminga, White, Sharp, Claxton, Kobe White, that is, Shaedon Sharp, Nick Claxton, Derek White, Jalen, Jarrett Allen, Miles Bridges, Derek Lively, DeAndre Ayton, Brandon Ingram, Trey Murphy III. So there you have it. Those are the first 3 rounds of our 30-team fantasy basketball mock draft. Let me know in the comments which picks did you like? What do you think was interesting? Also, do you want me to break down which fantasy basketball expert and industry writer or contributor made the picks? Because if you want to, I can do that next time when we cover, hopefully, rounds 4, 5, and 6. I could even do a little quick follow-up recap on rounds 1, 2, and 3, or maybe some of the interesting picks. Or if there's a fantasy analyst you want me to just break down their team, I'll gladly do that for you as well. But it looks like the draft is actually moving. People are like drafting players like actively. I put a I put a message in the group chat, all 30 of us in the group chat, and I was like, yo, I'm about to go live. Mind you, there's like an 8-hour timer, so we can like chill on our picks. But like 3 or 4 picks have gone off since I've been on this live stream. So I'm curious to know if the guys are watching. Oh, there's also a young lady in the group too. So the folks are watching. I'm just curious because it is cooking. Somebody just drafted Cam Thomas. I'm just saying. Heat, fire. You know what else is heat and fire? Owner's Box. Fantasy sports fans, are you ready to elevate your game with a thrilling twist? Let me introduce to you Owner's Box, the unique daily fantasy sports platform that's changing the game with its one-of-a-kind lightning lineups feature. Imagine this. It's you versus Owner's Box. No more complicated matchups or endless stats to analyze. Just a direct showdown where your sports savvy shines. With Owner's Box, you simply spin, pick, and if your lineup hits, you win. It's that easy. Whether you're a rookie or a seasoned fantasy player, Owner's Box Lightning lineups are perfect for anyone looking for quick contests with a great chance of winning. It's all about making your experience fun, fast, and favorable. And here's the best part. Right now, Owner's Box is offering up to $500 in bonus rewards with your first deposit. Cha-ching! Just visit bit.ly/ownersbox500 to get started and claim your bonus. Spin, pick, win. Join Owner's Box today at bit.ly/ownersbox500. That's bit.ly/ownersbox, the number 500. Now, we got to keep it going with the Caitlin Clark watch. I'm sorry. I know, like, it is the fantasy, the WNBA fantasy basketball season is concluding soon. We'll be in the playoffs soon. We only got a couple more weeks of regular season. So I'm really curious to know if you are listening or watching the show. Let me know if you want more WNBA fantasy content next year, because I'm still thinking about how we're going to approach it. I do want to push the game up and see if we can cook up some fantasy content that is active in the NBA offseason, but I'm not sure. I want to know what folks think. So if you think it's something that we should continue to push, an initiative that the community is interested in, please let me know, and I'll gladly serve up the content. With that said, let's jump into Caitlin Clark. Man, she had herself a game the other night. Man, I'm going to run down these stats for y'all. Like cooking with hot bacon grease. On July 6th versus New York, she played 38 minutes. Okay. 19 points. Yes. 12 rebounds. Yes. And 13 assists. Oh, baby. And I'm not done. Come here. She also added 2 blocks. 4 turnovers, which has been consistent with her this season. She's averaging 5.5 turnovers per game on the season. But 51 fantasy points. Come on, man. I don't give a shit, Sue puppy. Caitlin Clark got some heat. Also, on the 2nd versus Las Vegas, she dropped 13, 6, and 11. Against Phoenix on the 30th, she had 15, 9, and 12. So, again, a lot of news happening with Caitlin Clark. We're not going to go into details about any of those breaking stories right now, but if something new comes up and you want me to cover it, I'll do a short video on it. Just send me an email at info@BelieveInFantasy. That's info@BelieveInFantasy if there's a topic that you'd like me to cover in a short video. So now, I'm going to share with you my top 5 waiver wire targets for WNBA Fantasy Week 9. Let's get it. First up, we got Aari McDonald. Aari McDonald is only rostered in 37.8 of ESPN leagues. Over the last 7 days, she's averaging 33.7 minutes per game. That is a huge increase from her season average of 23.4 minutes per game. So there's a big jump there. She's averaging 14.7 points per game. Over the last 7 days, 3.3 rebounds, yes. 5 assists, yes. And 1 steal. I am not mad at this addition. Please grab McDonald off of your waiver wire. Next up, from the Dallas Wings, Odyssey Sims. She is only rostered in 30.2% of ESPN leagues. Over the last 7 days, she's averaging 16 points per game. Yes. 2.8 rebounds. 6 assists. Oh, baby. And check this out. This is good, y'all. This is good. She is averaging, over the last 7 days, she's averaging 2 steals per game. On the season, she's averaging 2.2 steals per game. This is sustainable. I would grab Odyssey Sims right now if she's available on your waiver wire. Next up, from the Washington Mystics, Maisha Hines-Allen, someone we've spoken about on the show before. She's only rostered in 26.5% of ESPN leagues. Next up, we have Shatori Walker-Kimbrough, only rostered in 14.3% of ESPN leagues. Over the last 7 days, 28.7 minutes per game, 17 points per game. Yes, that is up from 7.5 on the season. That's crazy. 2.3 rebounds, 3 assists, nothing too crazy, nothing really worth writing home about, but those points are insane. Go ahead and snatch her off of the waiver wire if she's available. And we got one more for you. From the Chicago Sky, Lindsey Allen. This is the first time we've talked about Lindsey on the show, so we are super excited. Only rostered in 4.5% of leagues over the last 7 days, averaging 29 minutes per game. 6.5 points, 2 rebounds, 4.3 assists. That's better. 1.5 steals. Let's get it. 0.8 blocks per game. Definitely someone we should take a look at. Very, very interesting stuff. You know what else is interesting? Underdog Fantasy. Oh, baby. I am super excited to talk about one of our favorite fantasy sports partners, Underdog Fantasy. Underdog is the best place to play fantasy sports, including best ball, daily drafts, and pick'em. Start drafting in minutes for a shot at big cash and an enhanced game-watching experience. Sign up today and use the code GAMEPICK. That's GAMEPICK. And Underdog will match your first deposit up to $250. It's like getting free money, y'all. Don't miss out on your chance to double up from the jump. To sign up, just download the Underdog Fantasy app on Android or iOS. Why did I sound like Snoop Dogg in that one? I was like, fantasy basketball, 101, SOS, iOS. Anyway, okay. So, super important. You have to be a two-way player. What does that mean? We need you to play offense and defense. I know what you're saying. Robin, I don't really play basketball. I watch basketball. Robin, I play fantasy. I don't play real life basketball. Maybe you do, but I'm not doing defense and offense. I'm not talking about on the court, guys. Offense, we need you to watch the YouTube video. Defense, we need you to listen to the podcast. If you don't listen to podcasts, it's okay. It's actually the best time in human history to listen to podcasts. So go to Spotify, go to Apple Podcasts, wherever it is that you would think about listening to podcasts. Go there, put our show on repeat when you're washing dishes, when you're in the car. That's how you support the channel. We create all of this content for free. All that we ask is that you are a two-way player. So if you get any value from us on any video, long form, short form, whatever it is, watch the YouTube videos, listen to the podcast. Oh, and if you want some swag, because you know we got swag, visit bit.ly/The Fantasy Sports Shop. bit.ly/The Fantasy Sports Shop. Now, let's talk some NBA news. Let's talk some NBA news. Get a sip out of my Buc-ee's cup before we go into this next segment. Okay, so let's talk a little Bronny James. So Bronny James had his summer league debut the other night, and he was below average. Finished with 4 points on 2 for 9 shooting, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, and 1 steal in 22 minutes. Don't get too hyped. Listen, I don't believe that Bronny James is going to be a major contributor, but it's interesting to see the kind of buzz that he is drawing right now at this stage of his career. So it's exciting. Excuse me. Next thing is the rookie Connect from the Lakers. Their number 17 pick scored 12 points on 3 for 12 shooting. Blake Hinson, who signed with LA on a 2-way contract out of the University of Pittsburgh, led the Lakers with 17 points, going 5 for 7 from 3. So that's something we want to pay attention to. Next, big news. DeMar DeRozan is going to the Kings. I thought he would end up with the Lakers. I think the Lakers, I think they may have botched their entire, free agency period. It's a bad look. It smells and reeks of dumpster juice. The funky kind with the wet tissue in it. It's really bad, man. It's like the bottom of your garbage can that you roll out to if you got a garbage truck that picks up your joint. That all of that water on the bottom that you hear jingling around with the tissue in it. That's the Lakers. Bad, really funky. But it's not about them. Congratulations to DeMar DeRozan, who was featured in the Kendrick Lamar They Not Like Us video. I don't know if y'all caught that. Ooh, he was like, D-Rose came home. Y'all didn't deserve him anyway. And DeMar DeRozan was in the video looking like wild gully. It was like, yo, is that DeMar DeRozan? Because, you know, like DeMar DeRozan has a checkered past. Right? I ain't going to get in. I don't want no beef. I want no smoke. But just know that DeMar DeRozan, he comes from that life. He's about that life. So him playing for Sacramento with De'Aaron Fox, with Domantas Sabonis, I think puts them in a really good position to compete in the West, which is going to be tough for them, but definitely makes them, you know, kind of a middle of the pack Western Conference team as opposed to one of the teams that maybe was fighting to get in or would fight to get in. And also, in other news in Sacramento, Malik Monk signed a 4-year, $78 million contract, or is working on a contract. I'm not sure if he actually signed yet, but he will be resigning with Sacramento for 4 years. So that's a good look. They have a bunch of their core returning. And, yeah, I'm excited to see what Sacramento does. I'm not a Sacramento fan. I don't have any allegiance to any teams. So when people see me with the Pelicans hat, I think this Pelicans hat goes really dope with this fantasy sports swag that I got here. That's it. I don't really care. But in terms of competition, I think Sacramento is building out a solid squad. Next up, Miles Bridges. Oh, be careful. Don't swing. Oh, no, I don't want to make jokes about that. It's not funny. I would say this. Miles Bridges fumbled his bag. He had an opportunity to get a really big contract, and then he had the allegations or the situation with the domestic violence, all the DV, I should say. Please don't strike me here on YouTube. I would say this, that for fantasy purposes, Miles Bridges is valuable. So him having a contract now and us not having those Miles Bridges question marks. Is he going to play? Is he out? Will he come back? Is he going to jail? Is he going to get a charge? Now we know for the next 3 years he's going to be playing. So for me, I definitely think that his stock is stabilizing a bit. Next up, Buddy Hield signs a sign and trade, I should say, with the Golden State Warriors. Not Klay Thompson, but a shooter. I'm interested to see what happens there. And this one is crazy for me. Franz Wagner signs a 5-year, $224 million rookie extension. Get that man the bag. That's good. I mean, I have lots of faith in him. And I have him in a couple of my Dynasty teams. I think Franz Wagner is the truth. So I'm excited. Super versatile. Man, that's a huge bag for him. So I'm super excited about that. If you want to sharpen your skills, check out our next episode about Dynasty Fantasy Basketball. This episode was presented to you by BetOnline.